The one thing I wanted to cover is well, that's crazy. My son wants me to call him when I get a chance. Don't you hate that when your kids text you like he's a freshman in college? So he says, "Hey, Dad, call me when you get a chance." Now, automatically in your mind, you're wondering, "Oh my gosh, I just feel like dropping everything and calling him. What's up, man?" So anyway, talk about distractions. You cannot have distractions. This is important what I'm doing here. Okay, so I've been on this kick of doing like sales training. I'm gonna do more of it. Like I said, when I get my setup in the conference room with my Mondo camera. By the way, Mondo is not a brand. It's just like it's a mega camera. It's so cool. I'm going to be doing more of this, more of the ATM sales training stuff. I did some really cool stuff at the Dayton Hotspot on Tuesday that I wish I was live streaming that one, man. Oh my gosh. The stuff I covered there was like, I haven't covered this stuff in ages, because they were asking me questions. So sometimes it's like I get triggered by a question, which is kind of cool. So on YouTube live stream, that's where the chat thing works real good, because the chat thing is like, it's kind of like real time, I guess. Anyway, so let's go over proposal preparation. I'm going to try to elicit some responses from you guys out there too. So, we got I should just leave these blocks up here. The bond and rapport, that goes into pain, that goes into upfront contract, goes into full fulfillment of the contract, and then post-sale. And by the way, gang, feel free to text me questions and stuff, or you can ask. It's like muted, but text me, because I receive the text and I'll respond to it on the conference call. Gosh, how it gets faded out up here post sale. So the part that I want to focus on is the fulfillment phase. So we're going to kind of talk about this, and in terms of proposal preparation, what to show clients when you're working with them. Okay, so there are a number of different ways to show clients, options 1, 2, and 3. So you've got, I'm just retracing what I did last week, the option thing. So you've got option 1, 2, and 3. And the whole idea behind giving the client only 3 options is that it's important to minimize their choices, because too many choices causes them to do nothing. It causes confusion, and it births the think about it stall. All right, so you cannot show them too much, because they freeze up mentally. In fact, it was in a study in one of the books. Gosh, what book was I reading? Oh man, it's a great book too. They talk about the paralysis of too many choices. So what they did was they did a study at a university, and on one side of the university, they had students selling like 28 varieties of jam, jellies and jam. They're like 28 varieties. And then on the other side of the university, at the same time, they were only selling 2 choices of jam and jelly, whatever. There's only two choices. So there's like 28 choices and 2 choices. Do you know which one sold the most jellies and jams or whatever? The one that had 2 choices. Okay, so that really highlights the analysis paralysis people get into when you show them so many different options, right? I mean, it's like, well, I hate Christmas shopping. I don't know what to get. And when I go out there, there's like so many options in the department store. I freak out. I just like shut down. It's like I want to get the heck out of there. It just freaks me out. And so I have to kind of sit and decide what I want, and then I'll go on the internet and then search for it and get it. I'm more of a a hunter. You know, I know what I want, I'm going to kill it. Okay, whereas some people like to graze. They graze. You know, I'm just not like that, but too many choices. If I got to get something done, most people respond to just a few choices. That's why we only use 3 options. Okay, and typically the 3 options are like high, medium, and low. So this is kind of high, medium, and low. All right, and what's important about the options is they got to be for wide range of options, because you've got to hit somewhere within their budget, right? And so, for example, let's say this one is $150. You know, this one might be $100, and this might be $50. Okay, do you see how wide range these are, as opposed to, you know, this one being like 98, 96, and 90. Okay, that is not what you don't want that. You want a wide range so people have, you know, options to pick from. Okay, they have options to pick from. Okay, and then, you know, actually you put the premiums down in the lower box, so I kind of messed up. But so you put the features and benefits here, or the, you know, you explain each one, and then, you know, then the premiums are $50 a month, 100. Now I'm just using this as an example. Okay, remember the average application, the average, all right, is about 750 to 800. Okay, the average apps per home is about 1.3. So when you multiply this by this, the average home will produce about 1,000, 1,100. So the average app isn't 1,000 unless you're in California or the East Coast. Okay, the average app is about 7. So when you take, let's say, let's lowball it, 750 divided by 12. So about $60 a month is what the average is. So, you know, maybe a good rule of thumb is maybe, okay, it's all situational. Okay, but you kind of give you a range. You know, maybe the medium is $60, just averages. Maybe this one's 100, and maybe this one is, you know, 40. Okay, maybe it's more averaging like that. But everyone's different. Okay, so I'm just kind of giving you round numbers on, you know, what to expect, or what, you know, what the average home will produce on a per application basis. All right. So, but it's a wide range that you're trying to show. Does that make sense? Let's see, I'm getting some text, so. Yeah, that is true, Mark. So the question we got to answer is, how do you vary the pricing? Okay, there are so many different ways to do it. Okay, so let me kind of go over some of the tried and true methods of showing them options. Okay, and that's really kind of the purpose of this, is to what do you put in these options? And the great answer is it depends. Once you start getting to be an experienced agent, you're going to come up with very much customized solutions. But for you people that are brand new, you got to get kind of the cookie cutter solutions until you start understanding more about what they're needing. Okay, so I may tend to get a little cookie cutter. Again, I'm going to, you know, defer to some of y'all out there to give us a little more of the nuances. But you know, the business, you go from, you get doing the basics will get you to 50% close rate. Doing the nuances through experience and through association and going to hotspot meetings and listening to the TWCs and all that will get you to 70%. So our top agents are at about a 70% closing rate. Okay, so let's define that. Make sure we define our terms. 70% closing rate in my world, like some people define closing rate as number of applications per sits. All right. Or actually, it's appointments booked. So if they book 10 appointments, they got 10 applications, that's 100% closing rate. So you're going to hear people say, well, I got 100% closing rate. No, they got 10 apps out of 10 homes, meaning 10 homes booked. Okay? What really happened, the way that I define closing rate, is the number of homes closed versus homes sat. Okay, how many homes did you sit in, and how many homes did you close? Did you take care of? And so what these people, when they say got 100%, really in my world, and this is the way, from day one, I've always measured it like this, because this is a real way to determine, to me, someone's ability to sell, is how many homes did they take care of, and how many homes they didn't. So like, be careful. I think the Fitz Group, Texas, those guys, they do it like this. So when you hear people say, well, I got 100% closing rate, I got 120% closing rate, you're going, how did they do that? It's because they define it like this. I don't know why. No idea why they do it like this. To me, it's a false number. I can't coach this. I cannot coach this. I can coach the snot out of this. So however you're defining it, if you're working with me, I can coach you here. Okay, so again, the 11th commandment is thou shalt not fooleth thyself. This will fool you, this won't. All right, so I look at if you sat in 7 homes because you got 3 no-shows, and then the average home, so you took care of 4 homes, okay, so that is 4 divided by 7. So your closing rate is 57%, all right? And out of those 4 homes, we average like what? On our leaderboard, it was like let's just multiply 1.3 applications per home. That should have yielded maybe 5 applications, all right? 5, maybe 6 applications. Okay, let's just say 6 applications. So you have 50% closing rate, yielded 6 applications, you know, and then you might have booked 10 appointments. So really, your closing rate is 57%. And so my question for you is, hey, how can we help you get up to 70, right? And so, anyway, that's closing rate. So, again, thou shalt not fool thyself. There's too many variables that need to be coached here in that wrong way that you can't coach. You can't coach how many homes close because you don't know how many homes close. You can't coach how many applications they got per home. Like if they're getting consistently 1 app per home they close, hey, there's got to be some other applications somewhere in there, right, that you're missing. See, I can't coach that with the wrong way, but I can coach it with the right way. Does that make sense? So like, golly, don't do it like that if you expect anyone to coach you properly, right? So anyway, a little pet peeve of mine. I don't understand why people, because they want to sound great. I think it's an ego thing. I think they want to do, I got 100% closing rate. Really? In my 17 years, I've never had people close every single person they sat down with. Never. In a long period of time, you know, even a short period of time, in a month. You know, never happens. So don't believe those people. Okay, so let's get back to the proposal preparation thing. So some methods I like to use to determine, you know, what to show them. Okay, so let's say it's a $100,000 mortgage. Okay, maybe they're paying, you know, $700 a month for their mortgage. And this is that T graph. So when I do the about them, this is where that comes from. The T graph is where I really base why and how I do my proposals. Okay, so everything kind of builds on each other. So this is back here in the pain finding process. So I have this written out. I've got Joe, I've got Mary, I put their mortgage and their mortgage payment up here, And then I ask them all the questions on the ATM. Oh, that's where it is. On the ATM related to the stuff about them. Well, okay, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that detail. And so we find out how much money they make. Let's say Joe makes $5,000 a month, and Mary makes $2,000 a month. You know, maybe she's a part-time assistant, paid assistant somewhere, whatever. You know, Joe's full-time. You know, maybe he, you know, lays carpet or whatever. It could be vice versa. I'm just, you know, I don't want to fall into the gender stereotypes, but in my experience, when you're getting out there, you run into just something like this. Okay, so right away, you know that I'm going to make it easier for me to calculate the difference. So let's say Mary makes $4,000 a month and Joe makes $6,000 a month. Okay, so their total household income is $10,000. Okay, total household is $10,000 a month. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. All right, maybe they're living a $200,000 home. They got $100,000 left, whatever. And so, you know, I ask them their health questions. So you know, the medications. You know, maybe they're pretty healthy. You know, their 401k. At work, you know, where did they work before? You know, those kind of questions in the ATM. But the real key, one of the real keys of doing the T thing is I know how much each one makes. Okay, and why is that important? Well, for my options, so this is an example of options that I can show them. Options 1, 2, and 3. So maybe what I do, like my job is to cover them. My job is not to jack up the premium to something they can barely afford, only to be canceled 3 months later. Not my job. In fact, I would rather you sell them a low amount of premium because chances are they're going to keep it on the books. So I lean towards offering something lower. I don't try to upsell. If anything, I'm trying to downsell them on this idea. All right. So what I'll do, and I'll do it one by one too. I only do one by one. So when I'm doing the pain process, I'm going, wow, Mary. So something happened to Joe. It sounds like you're going to be, you know, kind of in a situation like, you know, pain question. You know, Joe may be able to make a $700 mortgage payment on $6,000. You know, maybe Mary can too. You know, these numbers. Well, let's just bump it up to more realistic. They're probably in a $200,000 home, and they're probably paying $1,800 a month. Okay, so this is more in line with kind of the income that they're making, and usually that's more like $300,000. But let's just keep it like this. And so Mary has an issue, so I'll cover Joe. So I'm going to talk about Joe first. So I'm going to show Joe covering the entire mortgage for $200,000. Okay, and then I'm going to do income ratio. Number 2 is income ratio. So what is income ratio? Well, Joe's income relative to the household income is 60%, right? So so Joe makes 60% of the household income. So what I propose to them is, hey, another option is let's just cover Joe for $120,000, because $120,000 of the mortgage is 60% of the mortgage of $200,000 is $120,000. So Mary, this is what would happen. Should something happen to Joe like in the next month, or it could be 10 years from now, you're going to get $120,000 tax-free. And so if you use that money to refinance the house, so now that the house you have left over is $80,000 that you would have to finance, and you think $80,000, the mortgage payment will probably be somewhere around, you know, $600 a month. Okay, it's usually the 1% rule. So 1% of the mortgage is typically the PITI, and it's probably lower than that because interest rates are low. Back when interest rates were high, 1% was probably a pretty good guess. So 1%, if you say 1% of the mortgages are what the mortgage payment would be if they dropped it down to 80,000, you're probably safe to even say it. But I'll bring it down just because the nerd in me estimates that it'd probably be more like, 600. But you can say 800. So it's 1%. So you have 80,000 to finance. It'd be $800 a month. So do you think, Mary, that if we dropped your mortgage payment down to $800 a month, do you think that would be comfortable in your income of $4,000 a month? And she's going to say, well, yeah. Well, obviously, yes, because it's the income ratio of the household income, which is the mortgage payment, all right? So that would be the number 2 for me would be the income ratio, okay? And then number 1, I might show like a mortgage payment protection. The minimum is $25,000. I might show, I don't know, maybe even half of that. Maybe it's $50,000. Okay, and then $50,000 accidental death. Or it could be actually half of that plus half accidental. Right, so I'm going to go 60,000 and then 60,000 ADB, accidental death benefit. Okay, and so this might be, based on their age, this actually might be $50. This might be 100. This might be 150. Okay, so do you see how, kind of the cookie cutter thing again, but you do the full amount, the income ratio amount, and then maybe half of the income ratio amount. If you're doing mortgage payment protection, then maybe you could do the mortgage payment $1,800 a month. So this is another low option, something you can back into later. If you can't, if this is too expensive, which it really shouldn't be, but if it is, you can even go lower than that. So 1,800 times 24 months, that's 43,000. Okay, so you can look at 24 months mortgage payment plus an accidental death benefit. Okay, so those are some kind of general rule of thumb. So when Joe says, so I go, Joe, which one do you think is comfortable for you in your budget? And they usually pick the middle one. He says, well, this one looks pretty good. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and get you started. Let's get this started. And then, but they're going to say, well, how about Mary? Oh, okay, so you're interested in covering Mary too? I try not to show them the whole thing. I try to get them to sell me on covering Mary too. Okay, I'll try to get Joe done, right? Because you can only do one app at a time anyway. So I try to get Joe closed, done. Mary feels good that she's got the coverage. And then they're going to lead me to the second app if they can afford it, right? So Joe's going to say, well, how about my wife? Oh, okay, you want to cover your wife? Absolutely. Let me show you options for her. So I would show her at 200,000. And now for her, that difference now is 40% of the mortgage. So that's 80,000. Okay, for her, getting her covered for 80,000. So when he gets 80,000, he refinances 120,000. So the monthly mortgage payment, might be 1,900, right? Which is more than affordable with his income. Do you see how the income ratio thing rocks? And then maybe this is 40,000. Look, when I was selling, okay, because that's half of that. When I was selling, man, I rocked this. My closes were either this or this. I mean, consistent, because the price difference was so significantly less than this that it just made sense. Plus, the logic of it totally made sense, right? So the income ratio option, learn how to do it. I just do rough percentages. I don't try to go, 72.3% of the income, because that's what it is. I just round to the next 10. So I'd say 70%, 30%, or 60-40, right? Something like that. I just try to make it more simple. And then when I explain it to them, it makes sense to them, right? So in general, this is an option that I like to use to vary the price, okay? Another option that is out there that you can do. Another thing you can do, which is pretty slick, this is if they have the money. If you think that there's money there to do this, is this is the mortgage payoff. The mortgage payoff program. And so what the mortgage payoff program is, you do a 20-year return of premium program, or it could be a smart UL, but a 20-year return of premium program, all right? So what that does is it jacks up the price so that the money that they get back could be enough to pay the mortgage off. So what's the rule of thumb there? Well, on a $200,000 mortgage, okay, a 30-year term mortgage, at 20 years, there's usually about half the mortgage left to pay off. If you look at any amortization schedule, you're paying interest, and very little principal. But by the time you get to 30 years, so this is zero, this is 30 years, okay, about 20 years into it, year 20, you've got half of it. So this is 200,000, okay? This will be 100,000. So the amortization schedule typically drops down. You know what? Never call me during my conference call. Never call me. I'm getting a call from someone, one of our agents. Like, what's up with that? You're calling me on my conference call. Anyway. Okay, so the mortgage payoff option is you do a 20-year return of premium. And because the prices are higher these days, this will be more than enough to cover the mortgage payoff at year 20. So some people say, well, I'm already on a program where I'm thinking about getting on to pay an extra payment a year. Because another way to drop it down to 21 years from a 30 years is to pay an extra mortgage payment a year. So sometimes banks will set them up on a 1/12 of their mortgage payment, and they bump up their mortgage payment per month, which brings their payoff down to about 21 years. But this is a better option because this is life insurance. Because if they die tomorrow, they're going to get the benefit of the life insurance. So it's not, so this idea is really powerful in that you can get a really strong premium. This might be, for the both of them, this might end up being $300 a month, okay? And then this is what you show them. You say, now, let me tell you the advantage of this strategy. Because what's your mortgage payment? $1,800 a month. And so what you've done by paying a little bit more today for your insurance with a return of premium, you take $1,800 times 12 months times 10 years, and let me show how much money you're going to save. Okay. You got $1,800 a month times 12 months times 10 years. How would you like to save $216,000? So you've saved yourself $216,000 by paying your mortgage off early, and you've gotten your insurance for free. What do you mean, Alex? Because you got all your premiums paid back to you, you got your insurance for free. So let me show you how much that's worth to you. Free insurance coverage, like if you died any of those 20 years, you would make, that's $300 a month times 12 months times 20 years. That's another $72,000. Now, yeah, see, that's almost there. Actually, it usually, they're at the age, it's probably going to be about $100,000. But you pay, let's just say it's $100,000. So this will be more like, maybe it's $400 a month. So now your total, because this is the insurance, and if you died, you would have got the mortgage paid off. Now it's $316,000. And all that it's going to inconvenience you is like $400 a month. And you get the insurance and you save that much money. Again, it's an option. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb. I like I talked about. So that would be option 3. Option 2 would just be covered, covered the mortgage straight up. Okay, then option 1, maybe the income ratio option. Okay, so the mortgage payoff, the full amount just covered for 30 years. Okay, 30 years, and then the income ratio option as option number 1. Knowing that I can go back, fall back below this if I need to. All right, but this is where I'm sensing that maybe there's some money here that they could, use to do something smart financially. Okay, does that make sense? Let's see if I got any. Yeah, the middle quote is usually half of the mortgage plus accidental. Yeah, which actually could be the same thing here. Okay. So that's another option. Yeah, let me explain that. So what some other folks like to do is, like, if it's 200,000, and then they'll do 100,000 of the mortgage, another 100,000 accidental death benefit. So that's another option that you can do. And then you can do something like 50,000 and 50,000 accidental death benefit. So that's another thing that you can do to drop the price down. But like I said, the income ratio thing kills it all the time. But if you're like sending out a single person, okay, and maybe they have kids, and they have a beneficiary, you can maybe drop it down here like that, because there's not a second person, so there's not an income ratio option. So that one works pretty good too. All right. Gosh, there's so many more things, but that just generally gives you some of the cookie cutter things. You're not understanding the $261,000 savings. Okay. When you help them pay off their mortgage off early, all right, so this $200,000 is their mortgage. They're paying $1,800 a month for their mortgage. And so their amortization schedule looks like that. This is 30 years. It's not drawn to scale. 20 years. In 20 years, their mortgage is going to be about $100,000 left to pay off. That's the rule of thumb. So when they pay the return of premium option, that should give them enough to pay this off, right? What you've done is to reduce their mortgage by 10 years. So that means they're no longer paying the $1,800 a year for 10 years. So in order to calculate how much they're saving here, you multiply their mortgage payment times 12 months times 10 years, right? And that's $216,000, right? Because they're no longer paying their mortgage payment. So what you've done is you've taken what they were gonna pay and you've cut it off by 10 years. It's like if my daughter graduated early from college and I'm paying $50,000 a year, right? I'm expected to pay $200,000 for 4 years. But if somehow she did enough credit hours to graduate early, I'm no longer paying $200,000. I'm only paying $150,000 for 3 years. Carol, does that make sense? She says, okay. Okay. And then I kind of, it's a tricky accounting, but I like tricky accounting. So I add the $100,000 that they paid in premiums. That's why it goes up to $316,000. You see how that works? Like free insurance. What's the value of free insurance? Well, the value of free insurance is $100,000 that they get back in order to pay off. They kind of saved it. Okay, did they kind of save it? Yeah, they kind of saved it. You know why they kind of saved it? Is because they didn't buy a regular life insurance policy that didn't give them a return of premium. Okay, all right. I know I've kind of inflated it a little bit, but you know, you could actually, if you want to be a total nerd, you would take what a non-return of premium is, subtracted by 100,000, the amount they would have paid different, you know, and it might be 50,000. Anyway, I don't want to confuse people with facts. Fake news. I don't want to confuse people with fake news. All right, Carol has it. Awesome. Carol has it. How about quoting husband and wife together? They often get the same amount of coverage. I don't know, dude. Your closing rates rock. So you tell me how that's been working for you. I get the first person covered, and they tell me they want the second person covered. Does that make sense? That's why I've been doing it. And then when they want the second person covered, see, they've already budgeted. We took care of the first one, and that allows me to know if they've got a budget beyond that. If they got a budget beyond that, you know what I'm saying? So like I take care of the most important person in the situation, and then I take care of the next important. Now, if they make up the same amount of money, you know, maybe I'm doing it different. But like I said, I'll just start with the first one. I want to close one at least. Remember, what did I say? The average app per home is 1.3. Okay? That means some people are getting one person covered and some people are getting 0 people, you know, 2 people covered. If there's 2, and then you're seeing now with single people, you know, there's a reason why that number's that number. But I let them tell me. But, you know, do what you want. Again, show me your closing rate. You know, if your closing rate's awesome, which it isn't, then, you know, tell me. Keep telling me what you're doing. Some dude in a circle popped up on my screen. I don't know what that means. I don't understand how they are saving money with return of premium. I think that question is related to what I just said. How are they saving money with return of premium? Well, okay, I showed you with the mortgage. Now with return of premium, okay, let's just do straight up understanding return of premium. So they're paying $100 a month for a regular policy for $200,000 for 30 years. Okay, so they spend $100. This is actually an important question because y'all got to understand the power of return of premium. So $100 times 12 months times 30, they pay $36,000 for their coverage. And this is a non-return of premium. So this is how much they paid. Okay, the return of premium option, they pay $200 to get the same coverage of $200,000 for 20 years. Well, let's just do it for 30 years. I just want you to understand this. Because the 20-year return of premium option is going to be way higher. It's going to be more than double. But let's just compare return of premium option. This is return of premium. And typically, it's probably going to double it almost. So then they pay $200. 200 times 12 months times 30 years. So they're paying $72,000. I know I didn't have to calculate. I just double it, but I want to do it very simply so you know that I use a calculator. I'm not just pulling it out of the air. They pay $72,000 for their coverage, and if they're alive at the end of 30 years, they get this back. All right? They get that money back. They get squat back. All right? So this is how to look at it. If you're an accountant and you got your return on investment calculator on, by paying an extra $100 a month, a month for their policy, that will yield a $72,000 return. So get your calculators out. You put 30 years. Okay, you input 30 years. You input the monthly payment of 100, and you put the expected return is 72,000. It's going to calculate a return on investment, the interest rate equivalent, the interest rate. And that interest rate is typically something like 7%, 7 to 8%, really return on investment. So in other words, if you put $100 a month in the savings account, and at the end of 30 years, you get $72,000 back, that is equivalent to an interest rate. It's not an investment, because that's what's great about this. This is a guaranteed return. In other words, no one cares about interest rate. It doesn't matter what the economy does. It's a contractual return if you're still alive at the end of 30 years. So you're getting an extra $100 a month will get 72 grand back, or if you just want to throw $100 away. So Joe and Mary, let me ask you, why did you buy your house instead of rent? Well, we bought our house because we build equity in it. We're going to own it eventually. Oh, so owning a policy is more important. Owning your house is more important than renting. Well, what happens after 30 years after renting a house or renting an apartment? Do you get anything? Well, no, I don't. Oh, okay. Well, this is very similar to owning a home. In fact, the analogy works even better with UL. Smart UL. If you just run Smart UL straight up with the cash value that grows in it on the default setting, cash surrender value solve, will be very similar to a 30-year return of premium, or a 20-year return of premium. They can pay their house off early. So this is even a better analogy for investing in not investing, I'm sorry. You can't use the word investment with Index Universal Life. You just have to say it's you're going to get a return on your money. So by implementing this, you're going to get that much back. Does that make sense, Deanne? Or are you totally confused again? Okay, maybe she dropped off. Okay, so that's the whole idea of return of premium. So really what I should have said, okay, when I'm calculating their savings, is that they're really saving, the whole thing. Again, using this analogy, they're saving the whole thing. They're saving all of it because you get all of it back. All right? So let me kind of recant what I said. They're getting all of it back. There's no way they can get all of it back unless they paid this much, unless they paid the $200. So really it is $200 because they're getting all of that back, as opposed to $100 they don't. Anyway. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. I'm way over, and there's probably 10 other proposal preparation options. But just wanted to cover some of those basics with you. Oh, so you do it. Okay, cool. She understands. Great. Okay, I guess that's it. Man, I'm way too long. So thanks, gang, for plugging in. I wish I could answer more questions. This is probably worth doing a full-blown webinar on, but hopefully gave you some ideas. All right, man. Thanks, everybody. God bless. Take care. Bye now.